Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hello and welcome to Quick Shot Reviews for Cheap Shot Entertainment. This is review number 243, as you can see by your screen if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're subscribed, thank you. If you're not, you know what to do. If you're listening to this via podcast, obviously you can't see a screen, and it is, like I say, review number 243. Which basically means we're going to be at 250 by the end of the year, which is amazing. So, what film have I been to see this week? Well, it is the new comedy horror, and that is air commas, The Blackening by Tim Story, who is the director, also known for Fantastic Four, the movie released in 2005. And a few other bits as well, but mostly that comes to the top of the list. Kind of tells you everything, really. Now, I've seen mixed reviews, as you'd expect from a comedy horror, and there are some genuinely good comedy horror films. Scary Movie, for example, The Evil Dead, Shaun of the Dead, and many more. But even serious horror movies can have a bit of comedy in it. But is this a serious horror movie or is this a comedy movie? And does it hit the mark? Well, I'm going to attempt to explain my thoughts on this movie. And I'm pretty sure people will disagree. But join me for the main part of the review. So The Blackening is a 2023 release, even though it was a 2022 movie, directed, like I said, by Tim Story, most famous for the Fantastic Four movie in 2005. It follows a group of 7 friends who go away for the weekend, spend it trapped in a cabin in the woods with a demented killer and a vendetta, and they're trying to use their street smarts and, dare I say, their blackness to overcome that, the adversity. Now, it does say in the description that they've got horror smarts, their knowledge of horror movies. I disagree that they've got any knowledge of horror movies apart from the trope that black people always die first. Now, it tries to have a message in that how black people are portrayed in the media, how black people are portrayed in film, and particularly horror movies. But then there was horror movies that broke that mold a long time ago. We're talking the 1960s, even the 50s, that broke that mold. So I don't know where they're going. Obviously, it's a new generation. There's a new generation of things happening, the Black Lives Matter movement and all that kind of stuff, which I'm completely behind. And this should have been a sleeper hit. It had a point to make, but it misses that mark like an arrow through the chest when you're aiming for the head. People were laughing in the cinema at things that genuinely just weren't funny. Maybe that's me, but they were more cringe than funny. There is some little in jokes about horror movies here and there, which I did kind of find funny, and I found the crescendo much better than I thought it was going to be. It was a very slow starter for me, this one. Um, but ultimately, it's not the worst. It's just not the best. And I think going in with high expectations changed my thoughts on that. But there were people around me genuinely enjoying the film, and that's what makes films so good. It stars Grace Byers as Alison, Jermaine Fowler as Clifton, Melvin Gregg as King, Ex Mayo as Shanika, Dwayne Perkins as Dwayne, Antoinette Robinson as Lisa, Sinique, Cinque Walls as Mandy, Jay Farrow as Sean, Yvonne Audrey as Morgan, and Diedrich Bader as Ranger White. Who that is the whole cast really. Um, so yeah, it's not a big cast, which is good, and the cast of characters. For me, in a horror movie, you have to care about the characters that you want to live, and I didn't care for any of these characters. I think what they were trying to do is make stereotypical characters for a horror movie, but by doing so, actually made the the point worse than it should have been. Now, I'm as white as you can get, but I do like black media. I do like rap music and things like that. So I get it. And I've seen some really good movies with black people, ethnic people, and all that kind of stuff. I've seen some really good movies that have some really deep thoughts to them, and they've been done well. This just didn't hit that mark for me at all. I find myself going, what? And why? And that's just over the top trope, you know? Um, some interesting characters. There's a gay black guy. I mean, that's cool, you know. You hit the marks with that one, and he was actually a really good actor. As Yeah, it was Dwayne Perkins, really good at that character. And then you've got the sort of jock type one. And there was a question that I found uneasy, and I think that's probably what it was going for. Um, about and the point they're trying to make is how, like I said, how black people and people of ethnicity are portrayed in the media, in film in particular, like I say, in horror movies. And there were so many things in here that you had to take in. It just seemed to borrow so much from so many different films, and it didn't really have its own thoughts. It didn't ever have its own direction. So they've got the cabin in the woods trope, they've got the White Ranger trope, and that's not a Power Ranger. You've got the house full of black people, black friends getting together, having fun, all that kind of stuff, which is cool. You've got the trope that it's some hillbillies that you know that are hanging out in the woods. Or at least they think. Obviously, I'm not going to give that away. You've got the nerd trope. You've got it's just, and then to bring it all together, you've got this sort of really racist Jumanji game um, that they play, and they get locked in a basement. It's just there's so much, and I think if they took some of those elements away, had the little jokes, but actually made it a bit more of a serious horror movie, did actually have a good thing here. I think it's the indecision as to whether it was going to be a horror movie or a parody that get this one. I can't recommend it. That's what got me. Some of the jokes are genuinely quite funny. Others, not so much. Like there's one line that I thought was really funny, and most people get this. It's when they say, "Let's split up." um, Obviously, it's a reference to Scooby Doo because why wouldn't you split up in a horror movie? Um, but yeah, there's so much to unravel in this film. I just found it a bit too busy. A horror movie, especially a slasher, should have a good villain. This didn't. And I saw the twist coming as soon as it could be happening. I saw it, and there was genuine gasps from people when it was revealed. I'm like, really? Maybe that's because I watch a lot of horror movies and I appreciate the medium of horror and what it can bring to the table and the points it can get across. But this was just too much. Like I say, instead of it being laugh out loud funny for me, it was fringe funny. And when I say cringe funny, you go, and then you realise that it's not actually funny. And there was genuinely people that were laughing around me. Um, but yeah, it's not the worst. I've seen a lot worse. The Grudge 2020. Anybody? Oh no, 20. Yeah, and Black Christmas 2019. Awful films, but they were both remakes. This is borrowing from a lot of different films and is kind of original, but it didn't have enough of its own original ideas for me, and that's what's let it down. Tim's story had something here. He had a good premise and didn't quite execute it well. Bit like Fantastic Four. Great characters, great premise, wasn't executed very well. Both Fantastic Four movies, awful. Um, but yeah, that's my opinion. It's a short film, so I guess that's a good thing. It wasn't over the top. It was about 90 minutes, 93 minutes, and I suppose there was certain bits that were quite fun, enjoyable, but for me, not enough to actually recommend this film to people. That's again, it's just my opinion. And I don't get cringed out of most things, especially when it comes to horror movies. Um, but yeah, this could have actually done with being an actual horror movie rather than a comedy horror because the comedy didn't hit. Some really good horror moments for a 15, some really tense scenes, but and it's a big but, like Kim Kardashian's but, not for me. If you've seen The Blackening and you enjoyed it, let us know. If you're like me and you didn't think it hit the mark, let me know. Get in touch with us on social media. We love hearing from you guys and your thoughts on these movies. I've got Strays coming up. I don't know what I'm going to be seeing after that. Obviously, the big summer blockbusters have been and gone now. So there's inevitably going to be some horror movies. Got the Exorcist movie coming out as well, which I'm looking forward to. And we'll just see what's out. So keep enjoying your movies and keep it locked right here for more quick shot reviews. I will see you next time. Goodbye.